was brushing my teeth when the alert hit my phone. No ringtone, no vibration, just a full-screen warning that lit up so bright I nearly dropped the damn thing into the sink. All it said was emergency alert, national zombie protocol in effect. Do not step outside at midnight. That was it. No sirens, no follow-up. It vanished before I could even take a screenshot. I stared at my reflection, toothbrush hanging out of my mouth, thinking maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was one of those prank Amber Alerts, or a glitch, but something about it felt heavier, like it wasn't just a test or a joke, like it was meant for me. I pulled my phone back up and opened Twitter, then Instagram, then Reddit. Nothing. People were posting about basketball scores, dumb memes, fast food reviews, normal stuff. Not a single person mentioned an alert. I even tried texting Ricky, my best friend since middle school, just a quick, "Yo, did you get that alert?" But the message stuck on sent and never turned into delivered. I waited. Nothing. I opened the front door just to clear my head, and that's when I noticed how quiet everything was. Not peaceful quiet, wrong quiet. Like the neighborhood was frozen. No bugs, no wind, no street sounds. Just stillness, like someone hit pause on the entire block. I thought I was just overreacting, so I grabbed my keys and drove to the 7-Eleven 3 blocks down. I figured if the world was ending, I could at least grab a bottle of soda and a pack of beef jerky. The roads were dead. Not late night, empty, but hollow. I pulled into the lot, and there was a man just standing by the glass doors. He wasn't asking for change or waiting for someone. Standing. No phone, no movement, arms by his side like a statue. I gave him a quick nod as I passed, but he didn't look at me, not even a blink. Inside, the cashier was watching a TV above the counter, one of those tiny ones mounted in the corner with a loop of news reports. The volume was off, but the visuals showed a highway with no cars on it. The ticker read something like military exercise, avoid downtown after midnight. I grabbed my stuff and asked her if everything was cool, and she barely nodded. Then she said in this monotone voice, like she didn't even realize she was speaking, "He's been standing there for like 20 minutes. I didn't know what to say. I turned back and peeked outside. The guy hadn't moved. Not an inch. And I swear, even from inside, I couldn't tell if he was breathing. He paid in cash and got out of there. When I pulled out of the parking lot, I took one last glance at him through the rearview mirror. He had turned his body, but not his feet, like he pivoted without lifting them. And now he was staring straight at my car. Not at the license plate, not at the driver's seat, at me. His mouth opened just a little, but no sound came out. When I got back home, I tried calling my sister Julia. It rang once, then voicemail. I tried again, same thing. Then I texted Ricky again, still nothing. I checked all my apps, and suddenly they were glitching out. Instagram wouldn't load past an old picture. Twitter was frozen, and Facebook just kept saying cannot refresh. I switched the Wi-Fi off and on, still nothing. The internet was gone, and the TV was showing nothing but reruns and pre-recorded talk shows. Every live feed was cut. No anchors, no updates, just smiling faces talking about nothing from earlier in the day, as if the world had already ended and nobody told the hosts. Then I saw the light. Out the window, at the edge of my street, there were 3 matte black military vans, parked and idle. No markings, just humming in place. They were spaced perfectly apart, facing the wrong direction, and not a single person was around them. I couldn't see drivers. I couldn't hear anything except this low humming sound that I realized had been there since I got home, like the whole sky was buzzing. That's when I started locking everything, my front door, back door, garage, windows, everything I could think of. I told myself it was just paranoia, that I was being stupid, but deep down, I knew. My hands were shaking. I kept the lights off. I sat in the dark with the TV on mute, watching static on Channel 5 like it might suddenly show me something real. That's when the crying started. It was a baby from across the street, Mrs. Carmichael's house. Her daughter had just had a baby 2 months ago. I'd seen her carrying the infant in and out during the day, but this wasn't normal crying. It was scared, like the baby was reacting to something we couldn't see. Then I looked out through the blinds, and there she was, Mrs. Carmichael, standing on her porch in a white nightgown, pacing in slow, perfect circles, no shoes. Her eyes were closed, and her lips were moving like she was praying or counting, over and over, never looking up. I sat on my couch, clutching the remote like a weapon, heart pounding so hard I thought I was gonna black out. Then my phone lit up again. Confirmed infectious ingredient in your area. This is not a drill. Do not look outside. Do not open the door. Do not step outside at midnight. That alert didn't disappear. It stayed on my screen until the battery drained. And then the lights went out. Not a flicker, a full shutdown. House, street, everything, even the military vans vanished into the black. And then I heard it. The first thud against my window. Not a knock, a thud, like someone slapped their entire body against the glass. I crawled to the floor, too afraid to breathe. Then I heard dragging, something scraping across the window. I reached for the kitchen knife I'd left on the coffee table, and just as my fingers wrapped around the handle, I heard my sister's voice outside. It's me, let me in. But Julia lives in Texas, and I haven't spoken to her in 3 days. I stayed on the floor all night, knife in hand, phone dead, watching the front door like it might burst open at any moment. I didn't move. I didn't sleep. The voice came back 3 more times, each time sounding less like Julia and more like someone imitating her, getting the words right but the rhythm all wrong, like a recording warped in the heat. By morning, the sun rose over a street that looked the same but didn't feel the same. And the man from 7-Eleven, they found him still standing there, same position, eyes gone. Skin peeled back around his jaw like he had been screaming forever, and his mouth was still moving, like he was trying to warn me. I stayed on the floor until the sky started to turn gray, and even then, I didn't move. I didn't sleep. I didn't dare close my eyes. That thing outside, whatever it was pretending to be my sister, it never came back after 4 a.m., but my body couldn't relax. Every creak in the house made my muscles lock up. The dead phone in my hand was still clenched so tight it left a dent in my skin. The only reason I finally stood up was because I had to pee. Stupid, human reason, but I think that's the only thing keeping me grounded. That and habit. Routine. Pretending like the world didn't just shift into a version of hell no one was prepared for. I didn't even want to look outside, but I couldn't help it. Something in me needed to confirm I wasn't insane, that maybe the hallucinations and alerts and whispers were just part of some awful dream. But when I peeked through the blinds, it was worse. Not chaos, not fires or overturned cars, just silence. A neighbor's sprinkler was running. A paper lay untouched on a porch like it was still just another morning. But across the street, 3 doors down, I saw a man standing in the middle of his yard. Not walking, not doing anything, just standing. His arms were stiff, head tilted back like he was smelling the air. His mouth hung open. From that distance, I couldn't see his eyes, but I swear he was looking at me, like he knew I was behind the glass. I dropped the blinds, heart racing. The air inside the house was stale. It felt heavier, like the walls were holding their breath. I turned on the faucet in the kitchen. Nothing. Dead pipes. The fridge light was off too, which meant the power was still out. I grabbed the backup phone from my drawer, an old iPhone I barely used anymore, and tried calling Ricky. I hadn't heard from him since that weird half-call the night before. This time, he answered. But he didn't say hello. All I heard was breathing. Then, a whisper. "Don't open the door. They use voices now." I froze. My hand gripped the edge of the counter like I needed something real to hold. "Ricky?" I asked, but the call dropped. Just click. Gone. I stood there for a full minute before I moved again. Something shifted inside me. Fear became fuel. I started grabbing anything I could use, furniture, heavy chairs, old exercise equipment, and barricaded the front door. I blocked every window that wasn't already locked. I knew it wouldn't stop anything serious, but it made me feel like I had some kind of control. When I finished, I sat on the floor and tried to think. That's when I remembered the radio in the garage. I hadn't used it since college, one of those old emergency hand crank ones. It barely worked, but when I turned the dial, something crackled through static. Then a low male voice repeating, "Shelter-in-place order remains active. Do not respond to knocking. Do not open your door. Trust no voices." That was it. Just repeating every 30 seconds like a broken prayer. That was all the confirmation I needed. Around midday, I looked out again. I shouldn't have. The guy who jogged every day, blue tank top, earbuds, always waved when I passed him, was out on the street. But he wasn't jogging. He was twitching like something was short-circuiting inside him. His head kept snapping to the side over and over, and his knees were buckling like he was drunk or broken. Then, like a light switch flipping, he stopped. His whole body went stiff, and he slowly turned toward my house. He didn't knock. He didn't even move. He just stood there, staring as if he could see straight through the walls. Then, without warning, he grinned. Wide. Way too wide. Like his skin wasn't meant to stretch that far. And then he whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but I saw the way his mouth moved. Over and over. "Let me in." That was all I needed. I ducked away from the window and didn't come back up. I sat against the hallway wall with a hammer in one hand and my kitchen knife in the other, shaking harder than I ever have in my life. I thought about calling my sister again, just to hear her voice and confirm what I heard last night wasn't real, but the battery was already dying. I stared at the door, waiting for it to burst open. It never did, but the whispers kept coming, low, just outside. Familiar voices. My coach from high school, a girl I dated once, my dad. They all asked the same thing. Let me in. By nightfall, I was done hoping this would blow over. I opened my pantry, 5 cans of soup, a bag of rice, 2 bottles of water. That's it. No flashlight, no working phone, and I hadn't heard from Ricky again. I kept the radio on low, hoping for anything new, but it was still the same loop. Shelter in place. Don't respond to knocking. Don't trust the voices. I think I finally fell asleep on the floor. I don't even remember closing my eyes. But I woke up because something was tapping the glass. Knocking. Tapping. I crawled to the window like an idiot, like I didn't already know better, and there he was again, the man from 7-Eleven. Standing on my lawn this time, his shirt was soaked in something dark, his mouth hung open, and inside, something moved, crawling in the back of his throat, like he wasn't dead but being controlled, like he was a puppet with wires still twitching inside. He didn't speak, didn't move, but he smiled. And I swear to you, that smile wasn't his. It was for me. The third night was the hardest. Not because it was louder or because more of them showed up. It was the opposite. It was quiet. Nothing moved, no whispers, no tapping, just a stillness that felt worse than any scream. I laid there in the hallway, knife resting against my chest, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was the part where things finally broke. Not outside, but inside me. I hadn't eaten since the first night. I didn't trust the water. The house felt like a coffin now, and every creak made me feel like it was getting smaller, like the walls were inching in closer every hour. I wasn't scared of dying. I was scared of opening the door. That morning, I caught myself thinking about doing it, just opening it, walking out, letting them take me, or whatever happens out there. At least it would be over. But then I remembered Ricky. I remembered that voice on the phone, the warning. They use voices now. And I remembered that smile, the one on the 7-Eleven guy's face. That wasn't a human smile. That was something wearing a human like a mask. I told myself I needed to move. I couldn't just rot in this house. But where would I go? I didn't know if anywhere was safe. Then I remembered an old storm shelter 2 blocks down, my neighbor's place, Mr. Patel. He was a prepper, always talked about EMPs and food storage and end-of-the-world scenarios like they were hobbies. I always thought he was nuts, but now? He might be the only one who saw this coming. I grabbed my backpack, stuffed it with anything useful. 2 cans of soup, the backup phone, a half-dead flashlight, the knife, and a photo of my sister. I don't know why. I just needed something to hold on to. I waited until just before sunset. That's when they got quiet again. It was always worse after dark, but right before it, that weird golden hour, that's when the air seemed thinner. I pulled the couch away from the door, heart pounding so hard I couldn't tell if the knocking was real or just my pulse. I cracked the door slowly. Nothing, just wind. No figures on the street. No breathing. I stepped out for the first time in 72 hours and immediately wanted to go back in. The air was wrong, like it didn't belong to Earth anymore. Too cold, too still. It smelled like metal and soil and something else. Something rotting but sweet, like fruit left in a car trunk for too long. I made it to the sidewalk fast, stayed low, moved between trees and fences like I was being hunted. The houses were all abandoned now, doors cracked open, mail piling up, curtains fluttering. No people, no bodies, just silence. Until I got to the Patel place. The front door was wide open. No signs of force. No blood. Just open, like someone forgot to close it in the middle of a grocery run. I called out softly, "Mr. Patel?" No answer. I stepped in and felt the difference right away. The house was still warm. There were candles on the kitchen table. Half a sandwich still on the plate. Someone left here fast. I checked every room, every hallway, clearing it like I'd seen in those military movies. Nothing. No signs of struggle. Just an empty house full of unfinished life. Then I found the basement. There was a heavy steel door down there, bolted and reinforced. That had to be the shelter. I banged once, twice, whispered through the cracks, "Mr. Patel? It's Evan," from down the street. Silence. Then I heard a slow, dragging sound behind me, up the stairs. I turned with the knife raised, and there she was. My sister. But it wasn't her. She was standing at the top of the stairs, in the same outfit I saw her wear 2 Christmases ago. Torn jeans, red flannel, black boots, same dimpled smile, same messy bun. But her eyes were too wide, too still, like glass over dark water. And her hands, fingers twitching like she wasn't in control of them. She opened her mouth, and I heard her voice say, "Come with me, you're not safe down here." My throat closed. I couldn't move. She took a step down. Her legs moved like they didn't belong to her, jerking with every motion, knees locked too straight. Her head tilted, and her smile stayed frozen, like it was stitched there. I backed into the steel door, pounding my fist against it, screaming for help, but nobody answered. They kept coming. So I did the only thing I could. I ran. I bolted past her, up the stairs, shoulder-checked her into the wall, and burst through the front door like it was a finish line. I didn't stop running until I made it back to my house, slammed the doors shut, dragged the couch back into place, and collapsed on the floor. My knees were bleeding. I didn't even notice. I just sat there, shaking, breathing in sharp gasps, staring at the door and whispering, "That wasn't her. That wasn't her. That wasn't her." And then I heard a knock. Just once, followed by a voice. "Evan, it's me. Please don't leave me again." I didn't answer, because that voice, it was Ricky now,